What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be another short video where I just talk about a gun that I've found that's pretty good. Obviously it's on the screen right now. It's the DP27. I've been waiting for this to be in a spot that it was usable for a long time. It's always felt pretty good, but I noticed in season 2 the green floor loot felt like it didn't have that horrible horizontal bounce after the first few shots that the other ones did. So I kind of analyzed that and figured out what attachments it had, and then I went and recreated it with actually a long range build rather than an iron sight build. And this is what I came up with, and it's actually pretty good. It's not going to be beating the Bren. It's not going to be like, you know, top tier, you have to use this or you're going to get fried kind of thing. But as soon as the Bren gets nerfed, this is going to be a top tier weapon for sure. So let's jump into it. We'll talk about all the attachments and things. Real quick, if you're not subscribed and you want to see really in-depth Call of Duty content, be sure to subscribe. About 40% of the people watching my videos usually aren't subscribed. It's free for you and it really helps us out. Also, a like and a comment on the video would be really appreciated. It helps with the algorithm, but let's jump into it and we'll talk about the DP27, the build, and why it's a pretty good gun. It seems like in the Season 2 patch, they did modify the DP27 recoil a little bit. Still need to get the recoil patterns updated on TGD, but overall, it feels much more easy to control. It's much more straight up than it used to be. It used to kind of do like a zigzag pattern, which is impossible to control and impossible to predict pretty much. So I'm glad to see them changing this up a little bit, making the gun a little more viable. Still does have a pretty good amount of recoil, so all of our attachments are going to keep that in mind, especially after the first few shots. So we're really going to focus on, recoil during sustained fire. So keep that in mind as we go through this. For the muzzle, MX silencer again. We choose this over the Mercury silencer because it has both vertical and horizontal recoil control. Unfortunately, this gun does have pretty bad aim down sight time, but I just think it needs pretty much all the help it can get with recoil. It turns into a very, very accurate gun at range with this build. Then we're going to use the 680mm barrel. Basically, this gives you better horizontal recoil, which is generally the most important recoil just because it's hard to predict and control. Gives you extra bullet velocity, which is great. Reduced scope sway and gun bob. Basically that means like ADS, walking movement speed, and just aiming stability in general. Again, we're going for maximum bullet velocity and the best recoil we can. Pretty standard. The scope, really big fan of the 3 to 6x. The night vision is still a really good option as well. That's a 3x scope, but it gives you really good sight picture, especially on Caldera. The Empress VZV stock, this gives you sustained fire recoil, which is what I talked about needing the most with this gun. We really need that sustained fire recoil. And then of course mounted, crouched, and prone as well. So anytime you see somebody at long range and you need to really fry them, be really accurate, and they don't know you're there, if you have time, you can crouch or you can go prone and get even better recoil control than just the default recoil. And then of course sustained fire is really important as well. Hand stop, again, this gives you recoil control, but more horizontal than the Carver. So we want maximum horizontal recoil control just to keep that horizontal bounce down. And this makes it just a little bit more accurate, and it doesn't hurt your ADS time. Like I said, the ADS time is pretty bad on this. So overall, I tend to lean toward hand stop on most builds, unless it's an SMG, because I like the hip fire for SMGs. Magazine, so this is the magazine that's on the floor loot DP27 that led to this whole video. This kind of seems to have a really good effect on the recoil, even though it doesn't state that it does. It really seems to bring that horizontal bounce down and make this a very, very viable long-range gun. Even though it doesn't state that in the pros and cons, it feels like it's much better than the default gun. Length and ammunition, obviously. Better bullet velocity means you're going to be able to hit people at range easier, hit reg is going to feel better, all things like that. Just the #1 attachment for long-range AR for sure. Ball armor grip, again, this does flinch resistance and accuracy for sustained fire and recoil for sustained fire, which again, most important thing for this gun. Hardscope is a really good perk. This does accuracy and recoil in sustained ADS, not sustained fire. So after like half a second of being ADS'd, you get much reduced recoil. So this is probably one of the best perks for a long range weapon, because if you see somebody and they don't know you're there, you can just ADS a little bit before you start shooting. And then the whole time you're shooting, you're going to have basically no recoil. This just has a huge effect on the recoil. Perk 2, nothing really special to say here, just fully loaded. I like fully loaded. If you're leveling the gun, again, surplus does work, so be sure you put surplus on while you're leveling it. But fully loaded is the only real good option here. Really quickly, here's a comparison of the combination shot TTK between the Automaton SGG and this DP27. Again, it's not like this massively overpowered gun. I'm not trying to say that it is, but it is very good and it's very competitive outside of the Bren right now. So in the future, when the Bren gets nerfed, I think that the DP27 is going to be one of the top tier weapons for Vanguard Royale. It's the orange line here. The automaton's the cyan line, and then the purple line is the STG. You can see in the first damage range, the DP27 is quite a bit faster than the STG, and then all three of them are pretty similar out of range, and it kind of matches the automaton inside, 35, 40 meters. Overall, it's a very good gun, competitive with everything except the Bren pretty much for Vanguard Royale. So if you're interested in that, if it's something you want to try out, I would recommend it. I think it's a top tier gun as soon as the Bren gets nerfed, like I said. So I'm going to jump in, show you a little bit of Plunder gameplay just so you can see what the recoil looks like. It's really not bad at all. So here I am in Plunder. That crane is 100 meters away. And you can roughly tell how big a person would be. They're basically the same height as the zipline thing right there, a little bit shorter than that. But if I ADS and start firing, and then I just let the recoil do its thing, I'm not going to control the recoil at all. I'm going to lift my mouse off the ground. Very, very little recoil. Very controllable. It still has a little bit of that side-to-side wobble, but it's much, much less than it used to be. One of the big downsides of the DP27 is the reload time. You can see how long this takes right there. But you do get 105 bullets and a relatively slow fire rate. So for a good team fight, it's actually not bad because you can get 2 or 3 downs with one magazine without even needing to reload. ADS time is not very good. But overall, the recoil makes it very controllable. So I'll try to control the recoil this time and shoot at the same spot. So like, I'm able to pretty much at 100 meters put every single bullet in the same spot. It does have that back and forth wobble a little bit, but in a lot of cases, that's not even a bad thing because they'll move before you can react. And those shots that you didn't intend to be wobbling back and forth will actually hit them. So I'm not trying to say that having wobbly recoil is better than not, but it's just not that big of a deal when it's that small of amount of wobble. Alright guys, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Just wanted to give you a really good weapon. It's not like absolutely S tier like the Bren. Like, it's a very good weapon, but it's not quite there yet. But as soon as the Bren gets nerfed, I do think this will be a top tier weapon. So if you want to go preemptively get it leveled, we have a few more days of double weapon XP. So that's pretty good. But that's all I really want to talk about. I appreciate you guys so much for the support, for watching my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.